So how do we bring jobs to the United States? How do we keep jobs in the United States? We invented the vacuum tube. Pretty soon, radios were being made all over the world. We invented the transistor. Pretty soon, we invented the integrated circuit. We invented a lot of solar technology, and now we're importing a lot of solar technology. What's the deal? I wanted, and in the midst of this, of course, there's this huge manufactured scandal that Darrell Issa is trying to pump up in the House of Representatives about a solar company that had some government-backed loans. And, oh, my God, the Obama administration might have had something to do with that. Less than 1% of the total loan portfolio of, I believe it was the Energy Department. And, that went down. And we were talking about this and looking at this, and where can we find somebody who really knows this stuff? And then I came across this Gordon Brinser shown in this was in the Business Journal, this article showing with Senator Lisa Murkowski and Senator Ron Wyden, one of the front men in the trade dispute with China, and SolarWorld is an advertiser on our show, disclosure, but I thought, wow, we've got a resource right here. So Gordon Brinser, who I have not met or talked with before, welcome to our program.
Thank you.
Gordon is the president of SolarWorld USA. SolarWorldUSA.com is the website. Chinese government has provided $30 billion in subsidies to its homegrown manufacturers, its solar manufacturers last year. Is this number accurate out of this article?
Yeah, it is accurate. And in fact, it's probably pretty conservative from all of our accounts. And we've provided everything to the Commerce Department. And what's amazing about those subsidies is that it's really focused upon them developing an industry specifically for exporting their product overseas. And they've done little to basically grow any type of solar industry demand in their own country. So
that's pretty amazing, because I've heard stats that China is the largest manufacturer of solar panels now in the world, but that's an export industry.
It's clearly an export industry. They've only, I believe this year they'll install maybe 500 megawatts of actual solar in their own country, yet they have over 16 gigawatts, or that's about 16,000 megawatts of manufacturing capacity. And that's really focused, their intent, and they've been very clear about it in the media, and their public statements by their executives come out and say their intent is to own the U.S. Solar industry. So they've focused their exports on the U.S., on Europe, mainly to put out of business a lot of U.S. companies.
Now, this is not, this is new, relatively new with the solar industry, because the solar industry itself is relatively new. But ever since the 80s and the 90s, when we went into this, we had tariffs in this country from 1783 until the 1990s, and that said, if there's $1 worth of American labor in a pair of shoes made in Connecticut, and you want to import a pair of shoes like that made in China where it might be 30 cents worth of labor, or made in Mexico where it might be 50 cents worth of labor, there'll be a 70-cent tax at the border if it comes in from China, or a 50-cent tax at the border if it comes in from Mexico, to level the playing field. And not just for labor, but for environmental standards and other things like that. And that's why we made socks in the United States, and shirts and jeans and computers and TVs and all kinds of things. And then we blew all that up in the 90s with this so-called free trade mania. And the Chinese are just walking in through this door, are they not?
It's a wide open door for them. There is really no barriers or hurdles for them to get into the solar industry in the U.S. And what's even more amazing is that labor is only 10% of the actual cost of solar manufacturing. So there is no warranted cost advantage that the Chinese have. This is just dumping of their products through their illegal subsidization practices. So in many cases, as you pointed out, there could be a labor advantage. In this case, there is none.
Wow. So this is a low
percentage.
So what this is a case of they're saying, okay, if we put all these other companies out of business around the world, then we will own the marketplace, and then we can raise the prices to make it profitable.
That is correct. Their intent has been made very clear. If they own this new renewable energy sector, energy is going, as we know, it's the bloodstream of our economy. Sure. And I honestly believe that China sees this as a very strategic maneuver for them politically. And environmentally, and from a economic standpoint.
Right. They want to become the ExxonMobil of the solar industry, I guess, or they want their companies.
Exactly. Right now, we rely on the Middle East for our fossil fuel sources, our gas. We're fighting wars over there. Soon, if we continue to let this process go down the path that China is pushing it, we will be dependent upon the Far East for our solar products.
Right. So, what are you and I guess there's this coalition that you guys have put together. Originally, there's 125 members now. It was smaller than that before. Many United Steelworkers and other unions are on board. What are you all calling for? This is the if I have this right, it's calling itself the Coalition for Affordable Solar Energy.
That is clear. There's a coalition.
Oh, that's what came out in opposition to your efforts.
There is an opposition out there. It's a very small opposition. The Coalition for American Solar Manufacturing has asked the Department of Commerce to basically initiate a case, which they did last week, which does two things. One, the initiation by Commerce sends a very strong signal that our concerns are valid and significant enough to warrant an investigation, and also validates that the coalition represents a majority of the domestic industry. And as a coalition, what we're asking for is we want a sustainable and fair global competition. What we have now is a foreign industry that is completely out of balance and focused on exports, and as a result has created significant harm to the U.S. industry. We at Solar World, we've been able to compete globally on a global platform for years, and we want to continue with that global competition and have a very vibrant U.S. industry around global competition, but it's got to be fair and sustainable practices. And as you mentioned previously, what China is getting away with today, both from a business perspective is not sustainable, from an environmental perspective is not sustainable. We are held by different standards. The people in the United States and worldwide have said, okay, for businesses to be sustainable and to be fair, there's a certain set of standards from business practice, environmental standards that we have to uphold to, and China's not being held accountable to those same rules of the playing field.
Yeah, but really this is a very old game. I mean, back in the 1880s and 1890s, John Rockefeller, when he basically owned the oil businesses in Pennsylvania and Ohio, he would drop the price of kerosene, was the principal oil product at that time. He would drop that price below his own manufactured price in order to drive out of business all of his small competitors. And then once he'd driven them all out of business, he'd jack the price back up to whatever he wanted. And ultimately that led to, the enforcement of the Sherman Antitrust Act and Teddy Roosevelt breaking Standard Oil up and whatnot. But China's playing that game now.
Yes, they are. And I think what's very interesting is there's been reports out that the U.S. is a net exporter of raw material and equipment into China for the solar industry. And they're even in the process of taking over the raw material refining also. So it's not just going to stop with the solar manufacturing or the manufacturing of the actual solar product itself. You're seeing now where they're starting to take over the raw material refining in solar, and also the equipment manufacturing in solar will soon follow. So the jobs in the U.S. will slowly disappear from the manufacturing sector of the industry, and that's a huge concern for us. We have 1,000 employees here in Hillsboro. They do a fantastic job. We've been manufacturing for 35 years on U.S. soil, and our intention is to keep manufacturing, keep those jobs here in the U.S., and grow those jobs in the U.S.
Yeah. Gordon Brinser, the president of Solar World Industries USA, solarworldusa.com is the website. Thank you, sir, for the great work you're doing.
Thank you.
And keep it up. I mean, this is something we should all be contacting our legislators about and saying, hey, we need manufacturing in the United States.